1 week and 2 days, so actually 9 days off since my last assignment, which was 6 days of live news on the road, living in different hotel rooms every couple nights. I try to always get the truck back to defaults, but this time it was so hot, I just didn't clean all the dust and dirt out of the truck. I did get batteries recharged and restaged, but this next job coming up is sit-down corporate interviews on seamless with a color wash, so I need some additional lighting, and I had to load a few tripods back into the truck. I had leaned down the package for the news assignments so that I'd have more room to stage items, leave stands partially assembled, lights partially assembled. So it's actually been 6 months since I've had the two Gemini 2x1s on board. Can't believe I've gone 6 months without using them. I was actually considering selling them, but then when I use them on a shoot like this, I'm grateful I have them. Every time I'm out on a project, there's another item I need to purchase. So 2 weeks in the field, I had a little running punch list of things to pick up. I bought 2 Aperture soft boxes with Bowens mounts. 16-inch, I actually would have preferred a 12-inch. I'm looking to simulate a Astra panel for live shots because I don't want to purchase Astras. Really, it's just a space issue on the truck. I can do my corporate stuff, commercial, documentary work with the Aperture 300Ds. News is sort of specific to the Astras, and I've been running the Fresnel lenses. The shadows on the neck are just a little harsh, so I'm gonna switch over to these soft boxes. It came with 2 densities, both of which are a little heavier than I had hoped. I like the Shimiro, old school Shimiros have like a grid cloth, super light, or quarter grid it might have been called, I don't remember. But at any rate, hey, for the price, hopefully these have enough punch in direct sun. And then also for news, I got another package of barrel connectors. These are so I can make little tails on the camera in live view so that as I patch and unpatch a dozen times a day, I'm not cycling and wearing out the connectors on the camera and the live view. Instead, it'll be an intermediate barrel. 2 small rig parts, Noga arm, also for news. This is so I can reposition the on-camera light from the handle on the shoe mount to directly over the lens. This thing's a little bit heavier weight than I was anticipating, but it'll get the job done. And then this is a small rig monitor arm for the Ronin S gimbal. When I was running my Pocket 6K cam, the screen was big enough for me to do manual focus pulls, but manual focus with the FX3, I'm struggling with the smaller screen on the gimbal and my aging eyes. So I'm gonna try out the OC monitor with this thing, and if that works out well on some upcoming travel work, maybe I'll invest in a higher quality onboard monitor for the gimbal. And finally, audio upgrade for my vlogging and for news, the DJI mic kit. So I have the 2 Rode Go's, the 1st gen, and I replaced the battery in one of them, but turns out that transmitter's got deeper issues. It's still discharging that battery. After a full charge, it sits for a few days and it's totally dead. And I cycled it a few times and now it's not really charging. So that thing's done. I still have one which I'll continue to use in stick mic configuration, but I like this DJI because it's smaller. It integrates nicely into the iPhone for vlogging, and I'll be able to do 2 channels, 1 receiver into the FX3 over a 1/8-inch connector. Southeast side, San Antonio. Just had my California breakfast. It's a hot one today. It's gonna be over 100 degrees. I think it's estimated at 107. Super humid. Carrying a 12-foot roll of seamless. It's been in the truck. I picked it up on Friday. It's Monday today, so my truck's been sitting all weekend like this. I don't like this. It makes me nervous because the divider's open. I worry about a break-in. I have all my kit stolen. We're gonna empty the truck today. 3 cameras, possibly 4. My director also brought in an FX3, which might be our 4th camera. Interviews all day indoors, which is great. The bad is I gotta empty the truck. Everything's going in. Got 3 tripods, put the ramp on. It was under the sticks, and this, of course, my tripod that's the least banged up is the one that fell off the cart because the ramp lifted it a little bit. Guess I'll just leave it there for the rest of the ride. I was gonna pull the mattress out, but the seamless had already gone in, so it's gonna stay in. Maybe I'll pull it tonight. This is a 3-day assignment, and as things always play out, I got booked on this one, and I have 4 other offers with conflicting dates, but that's just the way it goes. Didn't work at all last week, and then yeah, stacked up 5 work opportunities on the same dates this week. What else? Oh, so this one's corporate with an agency. Corporate people get all obsessed about wanting you to dress like you work in a cubicle all day in an air-conditioned environment, even though I'm doing manual labor in the heat. So I got my like button-up fishing shirt. I'm gonna throw this on for the handshakes and introductions, and then I'll strip down to just this synthetic t-shirt for the load-in and setup. And then once we start doing interviews with executives, I'll throw my button-up on again. I found if I roll in a t-shirt with the plan to get dressed in the fancy dress, then I get the like clothing lecture. But if I do the handshakes in the shirt and then 5 minutes later take the shirt off, no one seems to notice. So little survival tips for you. I feel guilty now complaining about how I have to dress, as 2 years of covering the border and watching all the law enforcement and the Texas Guard in their full uniforms in that heat, working outdoors every day. I got nothing to complain about in my little button-up shirt and golf shorts. All right, so here's our setup. We're in a training room. This end client is headquartered in San Antonio, but the advertising and marketing agency is based in San Francisco. The production company's from Orange County, California, which is who hired me. Mike at the company has, we've known of each other, kind of crossed paths, but never worked directly for over 20 years. And then we probably go back about 10 years where we actually worked on a project together. And if you look back to my road trip in 2020 to Norman, Oklahoma, I shot the final outstanding scene for a feature-length documentary film about the making of the feature film Rad, which was a BMX movie that was made like, gosh, over maybe 25, 30 years ago. Anyway, made this present day documentary over the last decade, and Mike's the director on that film. And so he's the director, editor, and primary DP for this account. So he brought in his FX3 from California as B cam, and we ran one of my FX9s as A camera for these interviews. They're all on seamless with a yellow color wash. And we were thinking we're gonna have to alternate eye lines, but it turned out over the course of 3 days, the agency decided to just keep everyone looking the same direction. I'm not entirely sure how the edit goes together, if these are different video titles per interview, or if it all gets stacked together. But regardless, it was an easy gig. Actually, these can be more of a struggle because I'm sitting in the chair behind the camera, long interviews, nothing to keep my mind occupied. I really struggle to stay alert, engaged, and not start yawning and crashing out. So I do my best to do some push-ups between setups, trying to wean myself off of caffeine. We'll see how that goes over the coming days. So our key light's an Aperture 300D with the Raja 105 parabolic reflector. I put the grid on because we're trying to minimize spill on the white seamless with the color wash. What I discovered sitting in the interviewee's chair is, I'd say only about 3/4 of the grids are making full contact with the subject. Even though it's a big softbox, once you put the grid on there and you're running at about a 45-degree angle as a key source, not all of it's making it to your subject, but that was the desired angle for the amount of ratio we wanted, and then we added a white bounce passive. I didn't want to throw any lighting into the bounce card on the fill side because of the spill and wash. Certainly could have experimented with another softbox with a grid fill side, but I like passive fill and bounces whenever possible. Same for keys, honestly. So camera settings for this one, we shot UHD, I think it was 2398, and we shot in S-Log3S Gamut 3 Cine, and we loaded in a custom LUT. On the FX3, there's an onboard Ninja monitor that's sending the LUT into the monitor path for Video Village. For the FX9, we were able to load the LUT into the camera and then output it over the monitor path while recording S-Log internally. Wrap on day one. Decided to pull the camera, tripod, tool chest, just in case, in the 10% chance I get a call for a live shot tonight. If I leave it here, they'll call. If I bring it, they won't. And then I have a second rock and roller of other items we didn't use today that are just going back to the truck for the next 2 days. Day 1 of 3 wrapped. 8 hours and 14 minutes on site. brings me in just a hair over 10 hours portal to portal. So no OT, which is great by me. So wonderful to be driving home to my own house, have dinner at home, sleep in my own bed. It's a rarity. I was thinking, I think this is only day 5 for me as a local this year. When I was based in California, the majority of the projects I shot or worked on were stage-based or were in an office complex, like downtown LA, and we're on the 50th floor of a high-rise. In both of those situations, everything has to be cart-based because you get a massive distance to cover between where the trucks are parked and set location. So for all of those years in California, I worked from pre-built carts with lift gates and ramps. Now that I'm in Texas, most of the stuff I shoot is location-based, or when it's a building, I can pull the truck up very close to where we're shooting. So basically, I shoot off the truck. I don't pull my carts out, or it'll just be a little rock and roller with a couple of items. So this tool chest has not come out in several months, and so I thought it'd be interesting to shoot the cart offload in real time to see how long this takes. Because I find even now when I'm in office locations, if it's not a high-rise, I'll just do a couple trips in where I pull things out of the tool chest, stingers, LED lights, audio items, tripod. So I may go back to the truck 2 or 3 times instead of rolling the cart in first thing in the morning. And I know I'm burning more valuable production time making trips back out to the truck versus taking the cart in. Now the reason I'm apprehensive to bring this cart inside is I hate this 4-way folding ramp. It's got several positions where it pinches fingers if you're not careful, and I don't have a convenient place to transport it in the truck. It'll either ride in this side door on the floor, but then it's in the way of moving around in my van, and the rear door, it ends up being at the bottom of the equipment stack. It's just not convenient to put it on top. Some have suggested I install a winch motorized to raise and lower this tool chest, and I've seen that on other trucks. I've operated them. It's kind of a time suck, and the cart's not that heavy. I'm okay. When I'm loading out, if there's someone available to help me, I definitely take the assist and have 2 people push it up, but I don't really have any trouble running it up and down on my own. And I take the camera off the top just for safety, just in case I have a bad steering and dump the thing over the side versus making it all the way to the bottom. For working in studios and those high-rise office buildings, I love having a tool chest as my main production cart for camera. But then when I transition to a lot of airline travel with some local sprinkled in, which is going to be the next couple months for me, starting in 2 days, I got a bunch of flights coming up. So when I get in that state of travel, I think I should just retire this tool chest and build a wooden rack in the side door of the van that can transport my equipment cases, so that way I can kit everything out to be ready to go as a local job or an airline gig. But then I get back to studio days and I love having my tool chest. And then when I'm shooting news and I'm doing live shots, the tool chest is awesome because I pull the van right up to where sticks are going to land, and I just work off that side door with those drawers. It's so much faster than having to pull cases on the ground, crack them open. It also saves my back because I'm not bending over a bunch. Everything is right at standing heights. So if you'd asked me how long I think it takes to remove that tool chest with the ramp set up and strike, I would have said like 8 to 10 minutes. That was 2 minutes and 20 seconds. Now I timed my old Transit Connect, which had the ramp out the rear door and the ramp wheelchair ramp bolted to the truck, so it's fast deploy. I could get my tool chest and a loaded magliner out of the van and the doors closed in just over 60 seconds. Okay, lesson to self: 2.5 minutes to bring the cart in, and probably another 2.5 to put it back in the truck. So anytime I need to do more than one trip to the van, it's going to be more time efficient to just bring the cart in first up. And also, when I'm doing multiple trips, I'm disappearing on the agency, the client, the talent, that valuable time when I should be in the room to overhear, plan, and discuss and work as a team. Here's a discussion from a previous video, and this has come up a few times on direct emails and conversations, so I'm going to read back this discussion. Jordan asked me, I've been shooting only on DSLR and mirrorless my entire career, mainly because I can't afford the leap to the FX9 or an RE style camera system. Would you say that your work got better when you started using those bigger cameras? Am I missing something important not using those for my regular work? My response on that discussion to Jordan was as follows. Most of the work I do requires conventional on-the-shoulder style cameras. The length of the camera counterbalances the weight of the lens when on the shoulder or tripod based. An FX9 or a Mira will run all day outside in 95-degree weather. I've shot both in 110-degree direct sun where the handle burned my fingers, but the camera didn't overheat. The camera needs to have multiple SDI outputs, BNC, timecode in and out, full-size XLR connectors, a top handle, a surface area to accommodate 2 onboard monitors for the operator and the AC, a wireless video transmitter, 2 audio receivers, a timecode locket box, all of which needs to be done without cages or other non-ergonomic items which require hand tools. Gold mount, V-mount batteries, which become an extension of the camera structure, not a flimsy accessory via rods and a cable. Long battery runtime with a single battery that powers all of the accessories listed, and a proper diopter viewfinder for operating outside. Internal ND and now variable ND is wonderful. Thinking about this a bit more right now, I never had the luxury to use the small gear as I was learning and coming up. There were no mirrorless. I started in like 1990 shooting, and the gear I had access to was equipment from the like mid to late 80s. So it was Ikegami tube cameras, JVC tube cameras, Portapacks, like I think it was VO88, the Sony U-matic recorders, and then there was a little bit of high 8 at my high school, and VHS and Super VHS, but even those commercial and broadcast grade Super VHS machines were not yet camcorders, the ones I had access to anyway. It was a separate recorder with a shoulder strap on your left hip, and you had the camera on your right shoulder, and then a NiCad battery belt that weighed like as much as the camera that you'd wear either like a bandolier across your shoulders or around your waist. Day 3, jumping ahead to load out, wrap out. I had my son come in to help us pack everything up. There's 3 carts, 2 rock and rollers in the tool chest. We got it all out in one trip, and then the seamless, at one point they asked me if I wanted to keep it, and I was going to donate it to a nonprofit here in town, but then the client decided to keep it. I was thinking, I don't want to keep seamless because it'll be months until I have another job. And now I've got a seamless job coming up next week, like 8 days after this one. So I'll have to go buy another roll. That's it for this week. We can continue the discussion in the comments below. Thanks for watching.